I'll pause for a moment of silence. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Baker,
Here.
Bullock, Keppel,
Here.
Marks, Rader,
Yep.
Schachner, Strebig.
Here.
Reading and disposal of the minutes of the regular meeting of council held February 5th, 2024.
Move to approve without the necessity of reading.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Item 1, report from Committee of the Whole held Sunday, February 4th, 2024.
Dear colleagues, I'm submitting the following draft minutes of the February 4th Committee of the Whole as the official report of the committee. In addition, I will simply state that the Sunday, February 4th Committee of the Whole was a unique opportunity for council members to thoughtfully reflect on the city's guiding documents and to examine how the priorities articulated in those documents intersect with members' individual goals and priorities. Such thoughtful reflection and collaboration were made possible by members' flexibility and openness, which I greatly appreciate. And I'll just say, we don't normally submit the full minutes, but in this case, I thought the level of interest in that meeting and the robust discussion that happened at it, at the high level of these big picture was important. And I would also love to invite anyone who would like to see. We do still have the sort of thought clouds of what we were thinking about with our strategic planning up on the wall, and happy to go through that with any interested directors or other parties who would like to take a look. Move to receive and file that report.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. That motion passes.
Item 2, report from Public Safety Committee meeting held February 12th, 2024.
Councilman Baker.
Thank you. Dear colleagues, the Public Safety Committee met on Monday, February 12th to discuss Resolution 2023-73, which would adopt the Active Transportation Plan and accompanying Safe Streets for All plan. Assistant Planning Director Dave Boss opened the meeting by reviewing the background of the project and introducing Toby Otulana, project planner with consulting firm Tool Design. Ms. Otulana gave a presentation to the committee and provided a high-level overview of both documents as well as the planning processes that went into each stage of the development. The overview included a preview of top infrastructure and policy recommendations in the plans, including a complete streets policy and other accountability measures. Assistant Director Boss stressed the plans are still under review and they will be making further revisions, especially regarding the infrastructure recommendations. Following the presentation, council members had the opportunity to ask questions regarding the implementation of the plan and how to best prioritize the recommendations. The committee also opened the floor to public comment and heard feedback and support from several residents. The committee moved to defer the resolution until the next committee meeting to give the planning department time to incorporate additional feedback. Thank you.
Move to receive and file that report.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? None. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that motion passes.
Item 3, report from Public Safety Committee meeting held today, February 20th, 2024.
Councilman Baker again.
Thank you. At the Public Safety Committee meeting today, we kicked it off to talk about the criminal code in Lakewood as it relates to the possession and gift and drug abuse of marijuana in light of the state's recent adoption of a referendum legalizing marijuana and adult use. So we had a candid discussion with the law department about how we can go about implementing those things in our code, some policy considerations that we might make as a council, and we ultimately determined to defer it further to allow a little bit more work with the administration and a further public safety committee meeting where the prosecutor will also be here to go over some of the potential changes. And the administration did indicate that the police department is already enforcing the new state law, which means that our code wouldn't be used to prosecute for marijuana possession anyways. So with that, that is the report of the Public Safety Committee on February 12th, or February 20th, 2024.
Thank you. Move to receive and file.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. And motion passes.
Item 4, report from Housing Planning and Development Committee meeting held today, February 20th, 2024.
Councilman Bullock.
Thank you, Madam President. The Housing Planning and Development Committee met tonight, and Councilwoman Marks and Councilwoman Strebig were also present. We had a very robust and thoughtful opening discussion on two ordinances, proposed ordinance 41-2023 and 42-2023, both of which relate to the licensure of potential business permits for medical and adult use marijuana dispensaries, which could be together or separate. There's a number of very important decisions to make about the number and the regulations and the intensity of use of those facilities. In the committee, educated itself about the structure of the state law. The state law does allow cities to make some decisions around the licensure, or even to decide to prohibit entirely any licensure. So we educated ourselves. We also heard from the administration that they are, alongside City Council, diligently researching and drafting and importantly, following the state regulatory work, which is mid-process and not yet final, on the state's own rules for implementing this new state law. So we think that a couple important decisions could come as early as June and/or September, but it's, nothing's guaranteed. But in the meantime, we're putting in some good work in the city government side of things to thoughtfully begin to craft our own sets of rules and community standards. The committee concluded its work by deferring both ordinances since it's still a work in progress. We'll come back and work further as soon as we can. And of note, the Planning Commission was also referred both of these ordinances. They have not yet met on either of them. So the Planning Commission presumably has its own work along these lines to complete alongside City Council. Move to receive and file that oral report.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes.
Item 5, Ordinance 40-2023, an ordinance to take effect immediately to amend Sections 51301 definitions, 51302 gift of marijuana, and 51303 drug abuse and controlled substance possession or use of the codified ordinances, and to repeal Section 513.045, use or possession of marijuana paraphernalia, to make these sections consistent with Chapter 3780, adult use cannabis control of the Ohio Revised Code.
Move to defer.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes.
Item 6, Ordinance 41-2023, an ordinance to take effect immediately to amend Chapter 779, medical marijuana operations of the codified ordinances, to provide a permitting process for both medical and adult use marijuana dispensaries.
Move to defer.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
Item 7, Ordinance 42-2023, an ordinance to take effect immediately to amend Schedule 112902, permitted uses in commercial districts, and Chapter 1165, medical marijuana dispensaries of the codified ordinances, and to permit medical and adult use marijuana dispensaries in commercial districts.
Move to defer.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
Item 8, Ordinance 01-2024, an ordinance to take effect immediately to approve the editing and inclusion of certain ordinances as parts of the various component codes of the codified ordinances, and to provide for the publication of such new matter.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
Item 9, communication from President Keppel regarding council liaison positions.
Sleeping on the job. All right. Dear colleagues, at the February 4th Committee of the Whole, the committee discussed the various council liaison positions and the responsibilities and expectations of serving in those roles. The following three resolutions are a product of those discussions. They attempt to evenly distribute the workload of these roles, to formalize roles that have been informal, and to provide opportunities for new council members. I look forward to further discussion with you all. Move to receive and file that communication.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
Item 10, Resolution 2024-02, a resolution to take effect immediately appointing Councilmember Cindy Stribig as a liaison to the Community Recreation Education Commission for a one-year term beginning January 1st, 2024 and ending December 31st, 2024.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. And discussion? I'll just thank Councilmember Stribig for being willing to serve in this important role, and we look forward to hearing updates from you about what's going on with that work with that commission. Any further discussion? All right. All those in favor? Aye. And that passes.
Item 11, Resolution 2024-08, a resolution to take effect immediately appointing Tristan Rader as the ex officio non-voting member of council to the Tree Advisory and Education Board for an unexpired term beginning immediately and ending December 31st, 2025.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Again, I'll thank Councilman Rader for agreeing to step up to this. I am coming off of Tree Board. It is an excellent group, and I'm a little jealous that you get to go, but I appreciate you taking this off my plate. All right, so motion was made and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 12, Resolution 2024-09, a resolution to take effect immediately appointing Councilmember Kyle Baker as an ex officio member of the Board of Directors of Lakewood Alive for a 3-year term beginning January 1st, 2024 and ending December 31st, 2026.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? I'd just like to say that Councilmember Bullock has been our long representative on Lakewood Alive and done an excellent job, been very committed. So thank you, Councilman Bullock, for your work there, and thank you, Councilmember Baker, for stepping into that role. I know you will also do a great job and keep us updated. So, any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 13, communication from Councilmember Marks regarding Lakewood Community Relations Advisory Commission appointment.
Councilmember Marks.
Thank you, Council President. Dear colleagues, with pleasure and pride, I hereby officially appoint Ward 4 resident Becky Hirsch to the Community Relations Advisory Commission for a 3-year term ending December 31st, 2027. As a communication professional, Ms. Hirsch is particularly well suited to serve in this role, helping to advise the city on its community relations strategies. In addition, Ms. Hirsch brings a deep knowledge of and passion for Northeast Ohio, alongside a global perspective she cultivated while living out of the country. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Hirsch to the Community Relations Advisory Committee.
Thank you. I'll move to receive and file.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded, and we thank Ms. Hirsch for her willingness to serve. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 14, communication from President Keppel and Mayor George regarding allocation of remaining ARPA funds.
Mayor George.
Thank you. Good evening, members of City Council. The U.S. Department of Treasury regulations governing the use of American Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA funds, by municipalities has grown more prescriptive since its passage in March 2021. Moreover, the President formally declared an end to the public health emergency in May 2023, directly impacting the legal assessment of the permitted use of ARPA funds. As a result of these material developments, certain of the city's previous allocations of ARPA may no longer fit within the eligible use of the funds under the evolving Treasury regulations. Use of the funds for those original purposes therefore creates a risk that federal authorities may seek a return of the funds from the city at some future time. Our goal in proposing this resolution is to eliminate the risk to the city's taxpayers of losing these federal funds. We were informed that the use of ARPA funds for major water and sewer projects would be fully compliant with ARPA and would eliminate the risk of clawback by the federal government. Accordingly, the resolution will authorize that all unspent ARPA funds and funds not yet encumbered or contracted for expenditure be allocated to the city's water and sewer projects. In compliance with ARPA, these water and sewer projects will be under contract in 2024 and completed by the end of 2026. We also recognize that this shift requires council and the administration to think differently and creatively about how we may achieve the goals of projects previously considered for ARPA funding. And I'm not going to continue reading this verbatim, but it goes on in bullet points a few of those projects that we're going to need to be creative and find a way to fund over the next couple years. This resolution is prudent, grounded in sound legal principles, and protects the interests of our taxpayers, and we recommend adoption of it. Thank you.
I'm going to, in anticipation of the upcoming resolution following this communication, I think it may be helpful to refer this communication along with the resolution. So I'm going to move to refer to Committee of the Whole.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? I'll just add, as Mayor George and I were working on this, the work that council did in our retreat to identify our shared priorities was very helpful as we were looking for these priorities that are listed here in this communication, and did inspire that work. So those are things to be keeping in mind, and I appreciate council members' flexibility of making that time available in short notice to have that discussion. So appreciate that work. All those in favor of referring this to Committee of the Whole? Or any further discussion, I guess I should say. Any further discussion? Nope. All right. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 15, Resolution 2024-10, a resolution to take effect immediately authorizing the mayor and/or director of finance or director of law to allocate all unspent funds from the American Rescue Plan Act and all ARPA funds not yet encumbered or contracted for expenditure for previously identified projects to the city's sewer and water projects for the modernization and construction of the city's water and sewer system.
Move to refer to Committee of the Whole.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 16, communication from Mayor George regarding 2024 NOPEC grant awards.
Mayor George.
Dear President Keppel and members of City Council, as a member of the Northeast Ohio Public Energy Council, or NOPEC, I am pleased to report that the City of Lakewood has been awarded over $146,000 through two separate NOPEC programs, $146,000 in the Energized Community Grant Funds, and then another $3,500 through the Community Event Sponsorship Program. The purpose of the NEC grant is to assist each member community in achieving greater energy efficiency and/or expand energy infrastructure to benefit everyone while achieving greater savings. As you're aware, the city will be undertaking important action items as set forth in our Climate Action Plan. As such, the NEC grant will be escrowed with NOPEC until identification of these important initiatives. We will then evaluate the action items of each initiative for potential funding through this NEC grant. The Community Event Program dollars will be directed or passed through to Lakewood Alive to continue their seasonal Front Porch Concert Series. It's important to note that the purpose of the Community Event Sponsorship Program is for NOPEC to provide financial support to deserving organizations within our city that host events for residents. The Front Porch Concert Series embodies this NOPEC Community Event Sponsorship mission. I am pleased to make you aware of this award, for which no matching funds are required.
Excellent. I will move to receive and file that communication.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Oh, we do have an e-comment on this from Ian Andrews, the director of Lakewood Alive, which is on the screen, in support, obviously, of receiving these funds. All right. Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 17, Resolution 2024-11, a resolution to take effect immediately, authorizing the City of Lakewood to enter into an agreement to accept Northeast Ohio Public Energy Council Energized Community Grant.
I'm of a mind to Move to adopt. Second, any discussion?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
So, or Madam President, I heard, I'm trying to get to the right screen here. I heard in the communication, there's a evaluation process for the use of the funds. I'd be interested in having City Council engagement in how we use the funds. And so I think a discussion in a pertinent committee would be helpful. I know that we've had these grants for some time, make good use of them. But nevertheless, I think, there's some priorities that we'd all like to get off the ground, especially called out in the Climate Action Plan. So I would welcome a committee hearing.
All right. Any further discussion?
If I may.
Yes.
Just to call attention to the resolution, it is accepting of the funds. So it would be beneficial to us to accept those funds and to receive them. And then we could schedule either a committee meeting or, a meeting as we have in the past with leadership of City Council or those interested in talking into more detail about some of these initiatives. But I think it would be in the best interest for us to get this passed so that we can accept those funds.
Is there a time frame on this? I don't know if Mayor George, Director Rancourt, or I don't know who to, or Director Leininger, like I said.
Good evening, Madam President, members of City Council. So there is a timing restriction on the funds, but that generally runs out a couple of years. And then we can also have the opportunity to place funds into escrow if we haven't budgeted them, and we've carried some funds into escrow for some time. So there is a pretty long runway. It would also be beneficial to build off Mayor George's point to have that. We are starting interviews this week for the sustainability coordinator. Be helpful to have that person up and be part of that conversation as well to put their touch on how they might see utilizing these funds for the Climate Action Plan.
So, it would be helpful to have that person in place to have the committee hearing about use of the funds, or?
For use of the funds, yes.
Mhm.
Generally, we've been holding these funds in anticipation that they would be used for implementation of the Climate Action Plan, as Councilman Bullock has referenced. But really looking for guidance as we get that person on board to help us carry forward the implementation portion of it.
All right. So do we have a time limit, though, in terms of accepting them, that would be holding us back?
I think to elaborate on what Director Leininger is mentioning, knowing to have this person hired, I think in terms of process, it would make sense to accept the funds, get them with the city, and then schedule a committee meeting to discuss the funds. This isn't, the resolution isn't saying exactly where we're putting them. The discussion will be helpful once we have this person in place. All we're doing with this resolution is accepting the funds.
Mm-hmm. All right. That seems sound. If Councilman
Madam
Bullock.
President, yeah, I'm happy to accede to the suggestion of the mayor here. If we can do exactly as is described, have a thoughtful conversation. The funds have been put to good use, just off the top of my head, over the years in not only public-facing electric vehicle charging, but the more efficient street lighting heads. Those are all certainly good uses. I would, though, I think it'd be beneficial to the community and the City Council to get an update. I don't know how much of those streetlight of that streetlight work has been completed, how much remains, what decisions we made about what models of streetlights. There are a couple different choices to make there, and essentially this has been administrative decision making on this pool of funds for quite some years. So I think given the renewed focus on all these opportunities, and the fact that there now are tax credits that are newly available. Potentially we could marry up these funds with some tax credits and use them as a local match for some, new or ambitious project. The conversation would be helpful. I think we could work in good faith with the administration, as the mayor is suggesting, especially given the fact that you're going to have a new professional, we hope soon. So I'm happy to do it that way, as long as that's, a gentlewoman's agreement, gentleperson's agreement. I don't know how we.
We don't know yet.
Yeah. Well, the mayor and council. So anyway, I appreciate the spirit of collegiality here. Thanks.
Great. Yeah, I think, all right, so I think that if it sounds like all parties are agreeable, that I think it might actually be helpful too, once we have this person in place, just to periodically touch base generally with our climate action plan and the overall thoughts and process going on there. So, so we still have the motion on the floor to adopt. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 18, communication from Finance Director Rankator regarding 2024 first quarter transfers.
Director Rankator.
President Keppel and members of council, the 2024 first quarter transfer ordinance reflects 25% of the total anticipated transfers between funds that were included within the 2024 appropriations. This also includes advances back to the general fund that were made to their respective funds at the end of 2023. Please place this on the appropriate reading and refer to Finance Committee if necessary for further discussion. Thank you.
Move to receive and file that communication.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 19, Ordinance 2, 2024, an ordinance to take effect immediately authorizing the transfer in advance of certain funds.
I'll move to refer to Finance.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 20, communication from Director Leininger and Senior Planner Nakta regarding the Madison Park Master Plan.
Director Leininger.
Good evening again, Madam President, members of City Council. The City of Lakewood was selected as a recipient of the planning grant from the Cuyahoga County Planning Commission in January of 2022. Since that time, staff from Planning, Public Works, Lakewood City Schools have worked with the county planning in conjunction with multiple community stakeholders to develop a master plan for Madison Park. Careful research and documentation of area conditions and demographics, coupled with recently adopted city plans, robust public engagement, and stakeholder involvement, have produced a master plan document to guide continued investment in Madison Park over the next 10 to 15 years. The master planning document gives the why for suggested improvements as well as the how. The plan maintains the overall layout of the park and enhances existing amenities with the introduction of some new features. The improvements are well-rooted in public preference. The document includes appendices which contain over 1,100 unique responses from the public and surrounding neighborhood. Principals, teachers, and students at nearby primary schools were surveyed, as well as attendees at all major events in Madison Park last summer. The plan provides a list of resources for grant funding, case studies, vendor list, as well as a timeline with budget projections. The goal is to enhance this well-loved community asset, increase the quality of the offerings, and ease the travel to and from the park. Electrical infrastructure and a new outdoor pavilion will support annual events and enable more programming, such as a farmer's market, which emerged as a highly desired to the community. Creating a new connection to the park will provide Birdtown residents a pedestrian connection to the park and create a direct route to Harrison Elementary School. The Madison Park Master Plan document is recommended for adoption, following both committee review, as determined by City Council, and mandatory referral to the Planning Commission. And Madam President, if I could, just in recognizing that there are two committees that this has to be referred to, if possible, perhaps we could work with City Council and Planning Commission and do that jointly, whether it's at a Planning Commission meeting or a committee meeting that's to be determined. But it would save some time with County Planning, who will be doing the presentation and walking us through their process, if we could combine those meetings together. I'd also just take a minute to thank, we had a lot of involvement as you listed in the communication. I'd like to thank all the stakeholders that were committed to us over the last year, a little over a year actually, as well as all the public involvement. And the work of county planning is tremendous. It's great to have an agency like county planning that really functions as a highly paid consultant that we got for a very good price through the grant program. So, and most of them are residents here in our community too. So thank you to all their work. And with that, I'd be happy to answer your questions.
First, I'll move to receive and file that communication.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? I'd also just like to think I had the opportunity to attend some of those meetings, which were very, there was a lot of great community engagement and a lot of our great community groups around Madison Park, including the Friends of Madison Park, Madison Court Community Coalition, and just lots of very engaged residents and the Madison branch of the library also hosting it. So really exciting to see all those engagements. All right, motion's been made and seconded to receive and file. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye, and that motion passes.
Item 21, Resolution 2024-12, a resolution to take effect immediately to adopt the Madison Park Master Plan.
I will move to refer, let's see, to do simultaneously to Housing Planning Development and Planning Commission.
That's correct.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion. And Councilman Bullock, I'll leave up to you, to your discretion in terms of working with, scheduling with Planning Commission and with Clerk Bach here to try to make that as efficient and cost-effective for all the various people that need to be there as possible. All right, motions are made and seconded to refer to Housing Planning Development. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye, and that motion passes. And with that, we are at public comment. So if you're here for public comment, you can sign into on the sheet over here. And as always with public comment, when you come up to speak, you push the button till it turns green, and address your remarks, say your name and address for the record, and address your remarks to the chair, and please keep your remarks courteous. All right, first up is Ariella Epstein. Oh, there you are. I looked right past you. Hi, how are you? All right, come on up and just push the button. It should turn green for you. There you go. Perfect.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So I wrote to a lot of you recently, and I really appreciate your getting back to me. And I did read over the draft of the plan that I don't know the official words, and I'm not going to pull out my phone to say it. But I did really think that a few pieces were missing, especially, so I guess a little bit of background. My daughter attends Harding Middle School, and on Thursday morning on our way to school, we got to the intersection. My address is 1283 Hall Avenue. We live on Hall, and we pulled up to Detroit right after another sixth grader that my daughter's friends with got hit by a car on her way to school. And like I was the first adult that she knew on the scene. It was super traumatic for everybody. Luckily, she's okay. She has a really bad sprained ankle. She's on crutches. But that intersection is horrible. And our kids aren't safe. Like, they're just not. There's the McDonald's that they all congregate at. And when you're going north on Woodward, the light, so the light turns green, you can turn right or left, and simultaneously the crosswalk turns where people can cross. And if you don't know that that's happening, you're gonna hit somebody. Like, I see it. I mean, later that day, I saw it almost happen again to two other sixth graders. And I don't like, just putting up a sign saying yield to pedestrians or some sort of indication that there are gonna be people crossing if you turn left and you need to like be careful of that would be a step in the right direction. I'm no sort of engineer or anything like that, but I don't know if changing those lights could work, but these kids are they're truly in danger. Most of like the Lincoln kids use that path to go to school every day. And we all of us parents are like, oh, it's terrible. Like, we tell our kids, try to avoid it, but it's the most direct path. McDonald's is right there. And, I just thank God this little girl is okay, but there's going to be another one. And we have to figure something out with that intersection. So I guess that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, and thank you that it's the active transportation plan is what yeah, that's okay. You're not expected to know that. Then thank you for coming and speaking, reaching out to us. That is definitely that safety and multimodal safety, pedestrian safety, bicycle safety is something we've been discussing a lot and is definitely a high priority for all of us. Yeah, I'm here, so yeah.
Madam President?
Yes, Councilman Bullock.
Thank you. I'm sorry to hear about the accident. Thank you for coming to speak to us. It's very certainly a prime responsibility of ours to be detailed about safety. Your story's making me recall, when the McDonald's first went in, a number of us were working with the neighbors to try to get a different store there. The fact that there's a red light there at all was a concession that we were able to get. The McDonald's paid for that, but it was going to be not even have that to supervise the crossings and the traffic merging of the intersection there. But obviously, because I've heard from enough neighbors that the evidence left by trails of McDonald's bags and wrappers and other things up and down the neighboring streets established that there are middle school kids who are going to and from and all around that intersection. So happy to work with you on this and the police chief and others to make improvements here. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, next up is Danielle Kirsch.
Hello, everyone. I have already emailed Cindy, so I know we were in communication before, but I just kind of wanted to pose a question to the group about the, I guess, now defunct Lakewood Land Bank from the early 2000s. And basically, I just wanted to know if there are any mechanisms in place to monitor and enforce compliance with some of the terms that might have been laid out in some of the property agreements when giving the properties via the land bank. Just wanted to know, just to understand how land bank programs operate since its dissolution, just to ensure that it aligns with some of the goals of promoting equitable development in Lakewood and just revitalizing neighborhoods. This is just, like a personal thing because someone's selling land next to my house for a lot of money, and yeah. Just if there's anything that you guys do to monitor how those are, just how do you monitor them?
Thank you. Yeah, so just, and I know that I was copied in on that email that you sent to Cindy, and I know that Councilwoman Marks is working on following up on that for you. So I imagine we're still in the research phase. I don't know if we have,
I did send a request to Michelle Nocta for some information, which she sent to me. Still have some follow-up to do on that. But I do believe that when the city turns over those properties for sale, they're open to the public to bid on. So there are no other restrictions to it. It's just an open bid policy.
I just know from my understanding and my research, the property was given to the city of Lakewood's land bank from the county, and then the property was gifted to the current owner. So I'm confused in where all of that lands. It was 2014, so obviously things are different now. It looked like the mayor, Summers, gifted it to him, and just things like that. I'm just curious how it's just monitored.
Yeah, and I think we will have to, I do not have the answers for those questions, and we don't normally, with public comment, it's not usually Q&A because of that. We don't want to
Yeah.
give you ill-informed information. But I know that Councilman Marks will definitely follow up, and we'll get some answers.
Yeah, yes, certainly. We can arrange, if you'd like to speak to Ms. Nakta, so she can explain it to you in greater detail about how that works. I can arrange that for you. So after the meeting, I have your name and phone number, so I'll talk with her, and then I'll get in touch with you, and we'll make some arrangements.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming tonight.
Good question, though. Would be good for us all to learn. Thank you. All right, next up is Michael Ranillo.
Good evening. My name is Michael Ranillo. I live at 1356 Broccoli. I'm here tonight to ask that the tree that the city planted in front of my home be removed. I'd like to point out a few things. First of all, when I moved into this home, I had no tree. It was one of the things I liked about it. It's been represented to me that the city had sent correspondence to citizens to be able to opt out of the tree being planted in front of their homes. I'd like to see some evidence of this. Please show me some correspondence that was sent to me or any resident that gave us the option. It's also been stated to me that the mayor doesn't want residents to be able to opt out of her tree planting agenda. Clearly, the mayor knew some residents would not want to have a tree. So please clarify what your stance is. Are residents given the choice, or does the mayor's agenda supersede the wishes of residents? I'd also like to point out that 5 years ago, the city had previously removed a tree from this lot at my request. I asked that it be removed because it was where it was placed. It was at this time that I made it clear that I did not want a tree in front of my home. I have also, at other times, made clear to city employees that I did not wish to have a tree in front of my house. And I'm sure that I've made it clear to Commissioner Gordon that I didn't want a tree in front of my home. I will tell you that the day this tree was planted, I was at home. A city employee could have knocked on my door and gotten a clear and emphatic no. It's concerning to me that no one had a record of my opposition to a tree in front of my home, or they just didn't care. Either way, the residents should be concerned. Is this a bookkeeping issue, or we just don't care about the residents' issue? I'd like to state why I don't want this tree. First of all, and most important, I want to maintain the working order of my gas and water lines, which run directly through the center of this lot. When your tree's roots strangle my water line and break my gas line, it will be a $10,000 to $40,000 fix. I'm sure the city won't take any responsibility for that. This tree represents a future financial burden that the city has placed upon me. I would also like to maintain my sidewalks, which most certainly will be impacted by this tree's roots. It has been represented to me that the city will replace sidewalks that are damaged by trees. However, I'm still waiting for the city to fill in the hole that they left by the tree that they took out previously from 5 years ago. I find it curious that at the top of Broccoli Avenue, the Southside tree lawn, there are no trees planted. The tree lawn is at least twice the size of my tree lawn. In the over 20 years I've lived on this street, there has never been a tree on this lot. I believe the reason is because the telephone pole and an electrical utility box that occupy this lot. So the city's aware that the fact that tree roots damage infrastructure. They just don't care about my infrastructure. I also don't want the debris and leaves that this tree will deposit in my yard. I've had to spend over $1,000 to have my gutters covered over because of all the other trees in the area filling my gutters and causing water intrusion into my basement. The spot the city has planted this tree is a problem. I have 2 garbage cans and I have 2 recycle bins. My home is a double. Because the tree is off-center, the trash collection guys always drop the cans in the driveway or at the very edge of the driveway. It's a real problem that my 63-year-old wife has to get out of her car at 8:30 in the morning to move garbage cans to take our 5-year-old grandson to school. I can only say that where you place this tree makes me hate to look at my home. I can't stand to look out the front windows of my house. I've lost sleep due to being so aggravated at what the city has done to the front of my home. Let me be clear, this is my home. I live here, not you. I will say that I'm concerned at how this administration handles complaints from the citizens, and the rest of the residents should be concerned as well. After repeated calls to the mayor's office, I never received a call back from anyone. When I did speak to someone, it was confrontational and dishonest at best.
Thank you, sir. That is your 5
I'm
minutes.
almost finished. Only to find out that when I came to City Hall to file a formal complaint, I was refused entry into the building. I can only ask what is more undemocratic, refusing to honor the wishes of a resident and what happens in front of their home, or trying to silence the resident because they don't comply with your agenda. I guess freedom of speech is conditional in the city of Lakewood. In conclusion, I think the only thing left to be said is that today was a beautiful day. Tomorrow is supposed to be nicer. The ground is not frozen. It's a perfect opportunity for you to remove your tree from in front of my home. My home.
Thank you. All right. All right, next is Robert Organ. Welcome back.
It's good to see you all again. I missed you in the last week. I think Ariella has stepped out, but she brought up exactly what I came here to talk about today. My name is Robert Organ. I live at 14513 Bays. And it was really great to see Councilman Rader at the Bike Lakewood social on Friday night, which is where I learned that an 11-year-old girl was hit walking to school on Thursday morning. Every time I bring up these safety issues, I know everybody's very receptive to many of the things that I've talked about. I know we have the active transportation plan, but one of the things that I hear the most is we don't really have the money or to improve certain parts of our intersections, like Councilman Baker has talked about elevating the crosswalks and things like that. That's great. It sounds awesome, but I know that money is tight. However, I don't know what the value of a life is. This little girl could have been killed, could have been, injured in a completely life-altering manner, and yet we're concerned about, what businesses might do if we reduce parking, or if traffic is congested, or if drivers can't get to their business if they have to park a couple of blocks away or something like that. I don't know how else we can have a better perspective on this than the fact that that little girl could have died. That little girl could have been in a wheelchair for the rest of her life. And yet, we're talking about money, or a business owner being frustrated that somebody can't park directly in front of their business, or any number of other things. So I urge you, please take this seriously. Be quick. Let's make some improvements in Lakewood so that people can get around more safely outside of a car. Thank you.
Thank you, and appreciate your continued presence and encouragement. Councilman Baker.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Organ, for that comment, and Ms. Epstein, who's left. The one thing I would ask is the Public Works Department to look into whether or not we can signalize those lights to allow the walking signal to happen for 10 seconds before the light turns green, so that pedestrians can cross. Particularly there where there's no north-south connection, a driver has to go right or left, so that is a unique intersection. So just curious if the administration can look into that. I know it's called for in the active transportation plan, but a more remedial measure.
Did you want?
I can if you'd like. Good evening, Madam President, members of City Council. We are aware of it after tonight's discussions, and we will look into it.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'll just add too, as we were talking tonight about the some of council's priorities, the active transportation plan, and particularly the safe paths to schools, the speeding, making sure that our kids can get to school safely is definitely at the very top of that priority list. So something just to your point, Mr. Organ, about budgeting, that is one of the main things that is our job as council members is to budget, and that was definitely one of our top priorities. So, all right, with that, we're at the end of public comment. Any announcements from council members? Announcements from the administration? Director Leininger.
I believe next Tuesday, we will be hosting the final public meeting regarding the waterfront feasibility study at Lakewood Park. I'll be here in this room at 6 o'clock. It'll start with an open house format, and then we'll transition to a formal presentation at 6:30 to see that preferred concept that we've come up with, as is all of the public feedback we received, once again, over the last year. And then the next night, there is going to be a meeting regarding Merle Bunce Park and improvements that we're planning this year in that park. That'll be over at Cove Community Center in the family room. I don't have that time in front of me. I believe it starts at 4:30 and runs till 6:30, but that'll be downstairs at Cove Community Center. More details are up on our social media pages.
Excellent. Thank you for all those plans and getting community engagement. Yes, Councilman Baker.
Thank you. I know you gave council an opportunity, but Lakewood Alive, as the new appointed person who will be on their board, has an event this weekend called Loving Lakewood. I believe tickets are still available, at least according to this webpage I have on now. It's Loving Lakewood Greatest Hits. So Saturday night, it's a great event for the community, and it's very fun. So plug in.
It is indeed very fun, so definitely come out for that. You may actually see my husband and I dressed as some of our favorite musicians. So you could, if that may entice you or scare you off, I don't know. But it would be, we'll be there. All right. So and then one other thing is that our Congresswoman Chantel Brown will be here tomorrow. I believe folks were asked to RSVP, but so I'm not sure if there's still any availability for that, but you could check online. That is on the city social media, and we appreciate her coming to check in on us here at Lakewood. All right, with that, no further business coming before council. I'll move to adjourn. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes. Thanks. Good night, everyone.